We took 2-day trips out of Liverpool, the first of which was to northern Wales, and then on another day to Chester. Our first tour was of northern Wales, and we took a 9-hour trip on a minibus out of Liverpool with a company called Busybus. The first leg of the trip was a 90-minute drive from Liverpool by Colwyn Bay and to Conwy. Our first visit was to Conwy Castle. It took almost 4.5 years for the castle to be built by King Edward I, and the castle and walls were built in about 4 years between 1283 and 1287. It has 8 towers and overlooks the River Conwy. The town of Conwy itself has the most complete set of town walls in all of Wales. Here you can see one of the first road suspension bridges in the world, which was engineered by Thomas Telford in the 18th century. We'll see more of him later. From here you get a great view of the wonderful landscape surrounding Conwy, and it just gets better as we go further into the national park. Once we were done with the castle, we had time to go into the town and have an absolutely terrific lunch. Once we were done with lunch, it was back into the van and for a very scenic drive along the coast where we got a great view of Puffin Island. There are remains of a 12th century church on the island. From Conwy, it was a very short drive into Snowdonia National Park, which is not named for the Earl of Snowden, but for Mt Snowdon, which is the highest peak in England and Wales. You can see remnants of Snowdonia's slate mining past. Slate played a crucial role in the industrial heritage of Snowdonia, and it reached its peak in the early 19th century. The landscape of Snowdonia still bears the marks of its slate mining industry. You see abandoned quarries, slate waste heaps, and old mining infrastructure. As we were driving through the countryside, our driver insisted that we call out any black sheep that we saw, and he would give us a reward for the person that spotted the most black sheep. We had a brief stop in this area, and it was time enough to get out the drone and just get a quick view of the landscape and the surrounding area. We headed off for a rest stop at Betws-y-Coed, and I hope I pronounced that correctly, just for a rest stop. There's several ancient cemeteries, a neo-Norman church, and lots of other things to see in the area, and I think we're going to have to come back because there is much that we missed. After our stop in the train station, we proceeded on our way through some beautiful country where supposedly Anthony Hopkins has property near one of the villages. And we got off on one end of the Pontcysyllte Aqueduct and walked the length of it to the other side. This, again, was something that Thomas Telford built in 1805. As you walk along the aqueduct, you can reach out and touch the boats floating down the waterway over the River Dee gorge. This was the last stop of the day, so we climbed into the van and headed back to Liverpool. On another day, we took a very short train ride to Chester. Chester has the most complete city walls, the oldest racecourse, and the largest Roman amphitheater in Britain, and a 1,000-year-old cathedral. This is the bridge gate right next to the River Dee, where tolls were levied on anybody bringing goods through the gate. Chester is known for its black and white, half-timbered houses. Ahead we see the Chester Rows, which are shops which date back to the 13th century, and we'll come back here. This is some newer architecture and is known to the Chester residents as Noah's Ark. In sharp contrast, we come to the old water tower, which was built in 1322. We turn now to the Roman amphitheaters which were in town. There were two arenas. The first was built around 80 AD, and the second around the 3rd century AD. It sat about 7,000 people. Interestingly enough, it wasn't until 1929 that some workmen unearthed a piece of the wall and they had found the amphitheater. 20 years later, in 1949, they decided to display the artifacts that they had found in a garden. We now turn to the Rows, which is a unique and very distinctive feature of the city center, dating back all the way to the medieval period. The Rows are a series of half-timbered, two-tiered covered walkways that run along the four main streets of the city center. These walkways have shops, cafes, and other commercial establishments on both levels, which creates a double-decker shopping experience that's not found anywhere. The Rows are thought to have originated in the 13th century, and buildings along the walkways have evolved over time, some going back to the 14th century, but the architecture is fundamentally a mix of medieval, Tudor, Georgian, and Victorian styles, so it's a kind of a unique appearance. Bring your wallet and have fun shopping in the Rows. At the top of the Rows, still in downtown, is the Chester Cathedral, which is essentially a mix of several styles, primarily Norman and Gothic. The site of the church originally housed a Saxon church, followed by Benedictine Abbey, which was established in 1092. When monasteries were dissolved under King Henry VIII in 1538, the Abbey Church was converted into a cathedral, and the diocese was founded in 1541. Here in the nave, we find some exquisitely carved choir stalls, which were built in the 14th century. The detail is absolutely amazing. We were fortunate enough to catch the organist who appeared to be rehearsing for a performance of some sort. Well, that's it for Chester. It was time to get back on the train and head back to Liverpool. Be sure if you like this, you subscribe to our channel and leave any comments that you may have. Thanks.